Lynbrook Police Department lost 3 officers, all from traffic accidents, between 1929 to 1931. Patrolman Fred Secker was struck by an automobile on Merrick Road while on foot patrol on January 12, 1929. Patrolman Secker left behind a wife and 3 small children. Tragedy struck once again the following year. An unfortunate accident claimed the life of Patrolman William Everett, who was killed while on his motorcycle, when it was caught under Lynbrook Fire Department's ladder truck rear wheels, at Union Place and Union Avenue on April 20, 1930. The fire truck was responding to an alarm at the time. On May 3, 1931, yet another Lynbrook police officer was killed in the line of duty. While assigned to motorcycle patrol, Patrolman Frost was killed when his motorcycle was struck by a vehicle that was attempting to turn into a gas station on Sunrise Highway at the intersection of Huntington Avenue. As the driver crossed the eastbound lanes on Sunrise Highway, he struck Patrolman Frost's motorcycle. Patrolman Frost was thrown from the motorcycle and instantly killed. Frost had been with the Lynbrook police for about 6 years. He was just reassigned to regular motorcycle patrol the week before the accident. David Kenneth Frost was born May 4, 1898 in Lynbrook, New York, to Isaac Tillotson Frost and Daisy Agnes Loden Frost. Frost had a sister, Hazel Frost Owens, who was born a year later. It is highly likely that Kenneth attended Lynbrook's public schools of the era. The photos shown are of Lynbrook's 2 schools from that time that young Kenneth would have attended. Frost's June 5, 1917 draft registration card shows he was employed at the time as a chauffeur and mechanic for the Atlantic Knitting Mills of Lynbrook. The Knitting Mills building still stands today, unused, at Broadway and Langdon Place. Kenneth served as a private in the United States Army, from June 15, 1918 until his honorable discharge, on January 23, 1919, shortly after the end of World War I. He married Jenny White on November 19, 1919 in Oceanside, New York. They had 2 daughters. A stepdaughter from his wife's previous marriage, May Louise, was born August 4, 1917, and a daughter, Jean, born on October 22, 1924. Tragically, Jean Clara Frost would pass away at the age of 8 on December 14, 1932 in South Nassau Hospital, from spinal meningitis. Young Jean's death was only 19 months after her father Kenneth's tragic accident. Kenneth Frost was a member of the Lynbrook Volunteer Fire Department. He was a member of Rescue Hook Ladder and Bucket Company No. 1, Lynbrook's oldest fire company, which was organized in 1879. Kenneth served as lieutenant and captain of the fire company. This photo was taken on November 6, 1917. Norman Kaufber was captain. Lieutenant Kenneth Frost was the chauffeur behind the wheel in this photo. In April of 1928, Kenneth was elected chief engineer of the Lynbrook Fire Department, after serving as deputy chief. He served as chief engineer for a year. The chief's badge shown is the actual badge given to Chief Frost, in appreciation of his service as chief engineer of the Lynbrook Fire Department. Kenneth Frost was a member of the American Legion Post 335 in Lynbrook. His wife Jenny was active in the American Legion's Women's Auxiliary. There are numerous articles mentioning her activities for the auxiliary in the local Long Island newspapers of the time. The Frost family tree predates the United States, with Abraham Frost arriving in America from England in the mid-1600s. He settled in the town of Hempstead. 7 generations later, Kenneth Frost's grandfather, David, born in 1848, was listed in census reports as being a farmer in Pearsall's. Kenneth's father Isaac was a carpenter, who owned the home they shared at 59 Noble Street in Lynbrook. Kenneth was the 9th generation of the Frost family in the United States. The Frost men were good at working with their hands, and Kenneth was no exception. Among the young Frosts' first jobs was working as a mechanic at the Atlantic Knitting Mills. The U.S. Army recognized David's talents and sent him to Clarkson Technical School in Oneonta, New York for training on gasoline engines. It is likely that Frost had a passion for motorcycles. Those early motorcycles would have required the keen eye of a person skilled in the maintenance of those early mechanical marvels. This would also explain Frost being immediately assigned to motorcycle patrol duty. Newspaper articles beginning in 1919 have Frost being hired by Lynbrook and Rockville Center, switching between departments several times. At the time, police hiring was done by the local departments directly. It was noted in several press stories that Frost would be immediately assigned to motorcycle duty. By 1926, Frost was established as a regular patrolman in Lynbrook. On April 14, 1931, the Brooklyn Times-Union newspaper reported a major shift in the manpower usage in the Lynbrook Police Department. The article was called, "7 Lynbrook Police Figure in Shakeup." The article went on to say, 2 motorcycle policemen and 5 members of the Auto Patrol were returned to beats today by Chief Joseph Lockwood, on an order titled, "For the Good of the Service." No other explanation for the transfers was made. The article also explained that Patrolman Kenneth Frost and William Cosenza were put on the motorcycle squad, replacing 2 other officers who were assigned foot patrol. Just before 4 p.m. on May 3, 1931, Lieutenant Anthony Heimers called the roll for the 4 to midnight tour. Sergeant Frank McDermott inspected the 3rd platoon of the 5th, 6th, and 7th squads. Patrolman Frost was assigned his regular post, Precinct Motorcycle Patrol. It all seemed to be another routine Sunday afternoon tour of duty at police headquarters. At 7:48 p.m. Frost reported to the station house with a traffic ticket he had written to a resident of Rockville Center. Little did Lieutenant Heimers know that this be the last time he would see Frost alive. At 8:45 p.m. the mood changed dramatically. A police blotter entry, written by Lieutenant Heimers said, "Blue rescue call for accident at Sunrise Highway and Huntington Avenue, Lynbrook, in which a patrolman was injured. Police surgeon was notified." Patrolman Adam Alexander, assigned to a motor patrol vehicle, was assigned to the auto accident. Lynbrook historian Art Matson described the events in his book, The History of Lynbrook. It was dusk when motorcycle patrolman Frost headed eastbound, at a rapid clip, making one last sweep down Sunrise Highway. Matson continued, an automobile was traveling in the opposite direction. The driver, who was from Brooklyn, was focused on trying to find a gas station. Spotting a station near Huntington Avenue on the south side of Sunrise, the driver, without using turn signals, abruptly made a left turn and crossed directly into Frost's path. Possibly the driver's vision was obscured by the sunset. In any event, he slammed into the side of the automobile, killing him almost instantly. Arthur Matson notes in his book, Motorcycle Officer Kenneth Frost, the chief's best friend, died in the line of duty in a motorcycle accident. Through an administrative blunder, Lockwood had failed to insure Frost's life, leaving his widow penniless. Lockwood's profound grief and a sense that he was a failure were more than he could bear. He suffered a nervous breakdown and went absent without leave. On his return to duty, he refused the village board's offer of a demotion to patrolman, and was fired. The Brooklyn Times-Union newspaper described Kenneth Frost's funeral, in a May 8, 1931 article. More than 500 state troopers, county and village policemen, legionnaires and firemen marched through the streets of Lynbrook yesterday in honor of motorcycle policeman Kenneth Frost, of the Lynbrook Police, who was killed Sunday in an automobile crash while on duty. Frost was given a chief inspector's funeral. The cortege marched from Frost's home at 59 Noble Street, through Hempstead Avenue, Merrick Road, Earl Avenue, St. James Place and Forest Avenue to St. James Methodist Church, where services were held. As the procession passed, the quarters of Rescue Hook and Ladder Company, which Mr. Frost was a member, tolled the bell. At the church there were eulogies by the Reverend George W. Roche, pastor of the church, Reverend W. W. Hammer, chaplain of the fire department, and Rabbi A. Joseph Losker, state chaplain of the American Legion. The flag-draped white casket was borne into the church by 6 of Frost's colleagues, Lieutenants Anthony Heimers and William Corrigan, Sergeant Harry Egan, Patrolman Fred Meyer, Edward J. Hurley, and Edgar Schmidt. Following the casket, which remained sealed, were Frost's widow, his parents, Mr. and Mrs. Isaac Frost, and his sister, Mrs. George Owens. After the services, the procession marched along Forest Avenue to Merrick Road, to Rockville Cemetery where burial was made. A volley was fired over the grave by the Lynbrook Post Firing Squad. Taps were sounded by William Schlasser. Police Chief Joseph Lockwood and Lieutenant Benjamin Boyd had charge of the funeral arrangements. Approximately 2,000 men and women lined the streets of Lynbrook while the procession passed.